Is Netflix's The Pale Blue Eye based on a true story? Hey guys, today we're going to know if Netflix's The Pale Blue Eye is based on a true story. Let's get right into it. The movie, The Pale Blue Eye, which was released on Netflix on January 6th, has already gained a lot of traction and is currently the platform's #1 movie. The Pale Blue Eye has kept Netflix viewers glued with its chilling, gruesome murder mystery story. The gothic thriller may have left you wondering about the Edgar Allan Poe of it all, in addition to delivering an unexpected twist in its shocking finale. Harry Potter's Harry Melling portrays the famous writer before he became the writer we know. He's a cadet at the United States Military Academy, where another cadet had his heart surgically removed. Poe joins forces with renowned detective Augustus Landor to investigate the heinous murder. It appears to be too good to be true. Did the author of terrifying poems like The Raven and The Telltale Heart actually investigate a real-life murder in 1830 before becoming the Edgar Allan Poe we know today? Despite Poe's presence, The Pale Blue Eye is not based on a true story. It's an adaptation of Lewis Bayard's novel of the same name, though Bayard did draw inspiration for the story from Poe's life. The Pale Blue Eye was adapted from a novel. While The Pale Blue Eye could have been an incredible true story about the early life of one of America's most profound literary figures, it is actually based on a crime novel written by Lewis Bayard. The book was first published in 2003 and was nominated for several literary awards, including the Edgar Allan Poe Awards and the Crime Writers Association Dagger Awards. The novel, like the film, is entirely fictitious. However, Bayard writes in an afterword, "There have been a fair number of books with Poe as a character. I chose to catch him at an early stage in his development, when he's a cadet at West Point. He's only 20. He's published a couple of volumes of poetry, but he's largely unknown to the reading public. Still struggling to find his voice. Still trying to consolidate this very troubled relationship with his foster father, John Allan." Edgar Allan Poe did, however, attend the United States Military Academy at West Point. Poe enlisted in the United States Army in 1827, claiming to be 22 years of age but being only 18. He enrolled at West Point in March 1830, but dropped out the following January. Poe was officially fired in March of 1831. Writer-director Scott Cooper told To Dumb, "Of course, this is a work of fiction, although Poe was at West Point." He then added, "What I'm saying is that it's these events that occur in our film that shaped his worldview and helped him become the writer that he became, with the recurring themes that deal with the questions of death and the effects of decomposition and reanimation of the dead and mourning. All those are considered part of his dark romanticism." Poe's life at West Point. The overall story of The Pale Blue Eye contains a grain of truth. Edgar Allan Poe was a cadet at West Point Academy from 1830 to 1831. Poe excelled at the academy while being supported by his foster father, John Allan. Poe was surprised to learn in a letter from his father that Allan would no longer communicate with him because he had recently become the father of illegitimate twins. Poe became enraged and decided to get himself kicked out of West Point on purpose. Poe stopped attending classes and accumulated a lengthy disciplinary record, which resulted in him being court-martialed, as he had intended. Poe left West Point in January 1831, eventually settling in New York, where he published poems. There is also no evidence that Lucy Boynton's character, Leah Marquis, existed or inspired the recurring Lenore in Poe's work. Lenore is most likely based on Poe's wife, Virginia Eliza Clem, or on Poe's earlier sweetheart, Elmira Royster, who married another. Poe's success. Poe's literary career really took off after his brief stint at West Point. He gradually gained literary critical acclaim and success, eventually becoming one of America's most successful writers. Prior to West Point, he wrote and published poems, but none of them received much attention. His career didn't take off until he was court-martialed from the Academy. There is no evidence that Poe was involved in any murder investigation while at West Point, implying that these events depicted in The Pale Blue Eye are true. However, something happened at West Point that fueled Poe's creativity, in addition to his rage toward his foster father. Whatever the reason, it appears that Poe transitioned from mediocre poet to genius at West Point. Though almost entirely fictitious, The Pale Blue Eye portrays Poe in a more sympathetic light. While many people assume Poe is brooding or dark because of the nature of his work, The Pale Blue Eye provides a different perspective on the poet. The film makes Poe more relatable and human by making him charming, passionate, humorous, and slightly awkward. In The Pale Blue Eye, Poe is more than just a macabre poet. He is also a dreamer, a romantic, and most importantly, a devoted friend. Even if this portrayal isn't historically accurate, as no one can truly know Poe's personality, the film positively contributes to Poe's legacy by delivering a dark yet entertaining story that is sure to satisfy viewers and inspire them to revisit Poe's work. The Pale Blue Eye is an homage to Poe. Poe is widely regarded as the father of the detective story, with his character, C. Auguste Dupin, appearing in the short story The Murders in the Rue Morgue, widely regarded as the first fictional detective. As a result, the fictional detective Landor is following in the footsteps of Poe's genre. That's all for today, and we'll be sure to catch you all in the next one.